I'm Anjali. You can call me Anjali. Now, I will reading the first novel by Kate Morton. The first novel, The House at Riverton, published by Macmillan. The part 1, Coaster. Last November, I had a nightmare. It was 1924 and I was at Riverton again. All the doors hung wide open, still blowing in the summer breeze. An orchestra perched high on the hill beneath the ancient maple, violins leading gladly in the warmth. The air rang with peeling laughter and crystal, and the sky was the kind of blue we all thought the war had destroyed forever. One of the footmen, smart in black and white, poured champagne into the top of a tower of glass flute, and everyone clapped, delighting in the splendid worsted. I saw myself the way one does in dreams, moving most the castle, moving slowly, much more slowly than one can in life. The others a blur of silk and sequins. I was looking for someone. Then the picture changed and I was near the summer house. Only it wasn't the summer house at Riverton. It couldn't have been. This was not the shiny new building Teddy had designed, but an old structure with ivy climbing the walls, twisting itself through the windows, strangling the pillars. Someone was calling me. A woman, a voice I recognized coming from the building on the lake's edge. I walked down the slope, my hands brushing against the tallest reeds. A figure crouched on the bank. It was Hannah. In her wedding dress, mud splattered across the front, clinging to the apricot roses. She looked up at me, her face pale where it emerged from shadow. Her voice chilled my blood. "You're too late." She pointed at my hands. "You're too late." I looked down at my hands, young hands covered in dark river mud, and in the stiff, cold body of a dead frog's hand. I know what broke it up, of course. It was the letter from the filmmaker. I don't receive much mail these days. The occasional postcard from a dutiful holidaying friend, a perfunctory letter from the bank where I keep saving accounts, an invitation to the christening of a child whose parents, I'm struck to realize, are no longer children themselves. Ursula's letter had arrived on a Tuesday morning late in November, and Sylvia had brought it with her when she came to make my bed. She'd raised heavily sketched eyebrows and waved the envelope. "Mail today. Something from the stage by the look of the stamp. Your grandson, perhaps?" The left brow arched questions mark, and her voice lowered to a husky whisper. "Terrible business. That's just terrible. And him such a nice young man." As Sylvia tatted it, I thanked her for the letter. I like Sylvia. She is one of the few people able to look beyond the lens of my face to see the 20-year-old who lives inside. Nonetheless, I refused to be drawn into conversation about Marcus. I asked her to open the curtains, and she pursed her lips for a moment before moving on to another of her favorite subjects. The weather, the likelihood of snow for Christmas, the havoc it would wreak on the aquatic residents. I responded when required, but my mind was on the envelope in my lap, wondering at the sketchy penmanship, the foreign stamps, softened edge that spoke of lengthy travels. "Here, why don't I read that for you?" Sylvia said, giving the pillows a final, hopeful plump. "Give your eyes a bit of address." "No, Thank you. Perhaps you could pass my class stuff? When she left, promising to come back and help me dress after she finished her rounds. I prized the letter from its envelopes, handshaking the way they do, wondering whether he finally coming home. But it wasn't from Marcus at all. It was from a young woman making a film about the past. She wanted me to look at her sets, to remember things and places from long ago. As if I hadn't spent a lifetime pretending to forget. I ignored the letter, folded it carefully and quietly, slid it inside a book I'd long ago given up reading. And then I exhaled. It was not the first time I had been reminded of what happened at Riverton to Robbie and the Hartford sister. Once I saw the tail end of a documentary on television. Something Ruth was watching about war poets. When Robbie's face filled the screen, his name printed across the bottom in an uncharming font. My skin pricked, but nothing happened. Ruth didn't flinch, the narrator continued, and I went on trying the dinner plate. Another time, reading the newspaper, my eye was drawn to a familiar name in a write-up, the Television Guide, a program celebrating 70 years of British films. I noted the time, my heart thrilling, wondering if I dared watch it. In the end, I fell asleep before it finished. There was very little about Emmeline. A few publicity photos, none of which shows her true beauty, and a clip from one of her silent films, The Venue's Affair, which make her look strange, hollow-cheeked, jerky movements like a marionette. There was no reference to the other films, the ones that threatened such a fuss. I suppose they don't read a mention in these days of promiscuity and permissiveness. But all told, I had been met with such memories before. Ursula's letter was different. It was the first time in over 70 years that anyone had associated me with the event, had remembered that a young woman named Grace Reeves had been at Riverton that summer. It made me feel vulnerable somehow, singled out, guilty. No, I was adamant. That letter won't remain answered. And so it did it. A strange thing began to happen though. Memories long consigned to the dark reach of my mind began to sneak through cracks. Images were tossed up, high and dry, picture perfect as if a lifetime hadn't passed between. And after the first tentative drops the luck, whole conversation word of word, nuance for nuance, scenes played out of a told on film. I have surprised myself. While most have torn holes in my recent memories, I find the distant past is sharp and clear. They come often lately to scars from the past, and I am surprised to find I don't much mind them. Not nearly so much as I had supposed I would. Indeed, the specters I have spent my life escaping have become almost a comfort, something I welcome, anticipate like one of those serials Sylvia is always talking about, hurrying her around so that she can't watch them done at the main hall. I had forgotten. I suppose that there were bright memories in amongst the dark. When the second letter arrived last week, in the same scattered hand on the same soft paper, I knew I was going to say yes. I would look at the stats. I was curious, a sensation I hadn't felt in some time. There's not much left to be curious about when one is 98 years old, but I wanted to meet this Ursula Ryan, who plans to bring them all to life again, who is so passionate about their story. So I wrote her a letter, had Sylvia post it for me, and we arranged to meet.